All right, we made it back to the Gunn Show VIP edition, and I have a really fun guest today. It's a guest that's never done this before, so we're all going to have a little bit of fun. And in fact, when we were in conversation about doing this podcast, he said, I'm not even sure that people would be inspired by my story. And I really replied and go, you know what? You never know who's going to connect with an audience member. You never know who you might inspire. You never know if someone's listening outside the industry and we've now brought them in, which is ultimately the main goal. You never know. Well, I've learned enough to know that I don't know anything at all. Let's put it that way. So I am really honored to have my friend here today. And in just a minute, I'm going to announce who that is, because he is one of those guys out there that has a lot of experience, both in the manufacturing side of things, the sales and marketing side of things. Truly a brilliant man. And before we get to that, per usual, I got to thank my sponsors. I mean, you guys are incredible. So AMT, IMTS, I love you. You're awesome. You're keeping the manufacturing industry fun. Mary, MC, Bonnie, you guys just absolutely brilliant. Eba to Growth Systems, Mike and Dave, thank you for doing everything you're doing as well. I'm really, really excited about Shop Rescue, and I'm excited to create more Shop Rescue shows. And we're going to push manufacturing onto Netflix or Prime. I can feel it. All right. Yeah, I can feel it. Did you guys feel it? I don't know. I felt it. Anyway, all right, moving on to our guest now. It's a good friend of mine. Well, let's just say I'm learning about him as well, but I'm really honored and grateful that he is here. My friend Mike Latkovich, Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Huot Manufacturing. Mike, thank you so much for being here. Did I say that all right? Welcome back to the Gunn Show, my friends. This is the VIP edition.
Huot Manufacturing.
I was very close. Yeah, I even misspelled it to say it correctly, and it didn't work out, did it?
It happens. Nobody gets that name right first time.
Well, it looks like I'm supposed to say it about a bunch of different ways, and the vowels don't seem to want to go together in most words, so my tongue and mouth act funny.
Not a problem.
I barely speak English, I've tried with my Spanish as well, but I'm still working on English. Do you speak multiple languages by chance?
No. Just, English.
How about Floridian? Do we speak Floridian?
I'm fluent in Floridian, yes.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about your journey. You do come from a really nice background with a lot of history, and we're having a little fun today. It's always enjoyable for me when I get a guest on here. It's like, hell yeah, I'll do this. Well, I've never done it before, but hell yeah, I'll do this. So how do you feel?
Good. I'm honored to be here, and I thank you for having me, and I look forward to sharing my story and hopefully inspiring others.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you will, and it's an honor and a pleasure for me also. I just want you to know that. So let's start with your journey. And I sometimes ask this silly question because you can go as far back as you want to. Did you roll out of the diapers knowing about machining? Is your family a part of it? Did you stumble into it? Did you go to school for it? Where did you learn about it, and how did you get into it?
Didn't stumble out of my diapers into it. Originally, when I was young, I was into the music industry pretty heavily, and then went to school for engineering because I figured if my music career didn't work out, I could always get a job if I was an engineer. So that's what I did, and that naturally led me into manufacturing and also being fascinated with the way things work and working on things and fixing things. You're able to fix them much easier if you understand how things are made. And I was always fascinated as a kid as how things were made. Like even brushing my teeth one day, I remember as a little kid looking at a tube of toothpaste and going, how did they get that in there? And that's just kind of kept the wheels turning to figure out how things were made. And it's actually a really exciting industry and challenging and fun to be a part of.
Christian, my sound engineer, my producer, have you ever thought about how toothpaste gets into the tube?
No, actually.
I actually have, Mike. I have. I'm with you. Maybe that's why we're working on different sides of the spectrum here. But I remember being a kid and going, okay, this is interesting. How does this work? So before we get into how this works and all the other things that you've done within that industry, music, play instruments, sing, what's that all about?
Can't sing, but I grew up as a guitar player and then played bass in a band that was a little bit ahead of its time and came pretty close to making it. And then one day we had the rug pulled out from underneath us, and and that happens in the music industry, and cut my hair and went to work and got a real job. So
you said cut my hair and went to work. That sounds about right, doesn't it?
That's the way it works.
So what type of music?
We played everything, a little bit of everything, a lot of rock and roll. And then the band that almost made it was kind of a new wave band that was a little bit ahead of its time. And I actually worked for a manufacturing company while I was going to college. And it seemed that everybody that worked there was a musician at night and had their real job during the day. So I got to meet a lot of cool people. And one of the guys that was a good friend of mine was a drummer in a band, and their bass player stopped showing up because he had a drug habit. So started playing with them. They asked me to join the band, and things started going places, and I thought we were going to make it. And they went to, the guys that had the copyrights to the songs went to a music convention in Vegas. We were waiting in the studio when they came back, and we were like, how'd it go? And they went, great. We said, tell us. They said, we met a producer that convinced us to go on a solo project, and that's what we're going to do. Bye.
No.
Next day, all the hair was gone, all the music, all the instruments were gone, and that was it. They said, okay, got to get serious about a career now and get a job.
That is so close. And so no musical backup plan, but you knew that you were going, your plan of being an engineer worked out at that point.
Yeah, fortunately, I had the education to fall back on and decided to pursue that, and it was actually the right choice.
Have you played since then? Do you pick up gigs here and there, or you just?
You know, I love to go see live music, and I watch people play, and I'm like, man, I should do that again, even if it's just on the weekends. But then I watch them play, and then I watch them tearing all their stuff down and packing it up in the vans, and then all those memories start to come back, and I'm like, you know what, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. I get that too. Do you have any favorite or most memorable performances, even if it was by yourself, even if it was learning, or throughout the expansion of possibility that you could share with the audience from the musical side of things?
We had a couple of memorable gigs, Hot Dog Beach on the east end of Long Island, and some gigs in the city, but Tony, that was a long time ago. So, not that I've suppressed it from my memory, but
it's a different lifetime.
I just moved on.
Yeah. I am catching a small New York accent. Is that where your home originally was?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Queens and on Long Island, and moved down here 22 years ago, and I lived in California for a little while too.
California, how was that?
Loved California, but it's expensive there, and my family and friends were all on the East Coast. So when the opportunity that I had going on the West Coast kind of went away, I was like, well, I can stay out here by myself or move back to the East Coast. So that's what I did.
Yeah, all right. So now we've cut our hair and we've given up on music and we've moved into engineering. What's that journey like? What did you start and where are you today?
My first job in engineering, in real engineering, so to speak, was working for an induction heating company. So it wasn't like shrink fit, but it's the same principles. And we did big projects for like Nike and AT&T and a lot of big things that were very technical. And I worked in the lab as part of my training process, and I actually understood how the equipment worked. And little did I know that the vice president of sales was keeping an eye on me on how I handled myself in the lab and with customers, because customers used to come into the lab and try stuff out. And then one day he said, we're going to move you into sales. And I said, well, I went to school for engineering, calculus, physics, electronics theory. I mean, I worked hard. I'm an engineer, and I'm going to stay an engineer. And he said, well, that's too bad. We were going to give you a 50% raise. You'd be traveling around the country supporting the outside guys and probably getting bonuses along with that too as well. So I said, which cubbyhole is mine?
Funny how money speaks like that, right?
Yeah, well, it was the natural progression, and I'm glad you did, because I don't like being in a room, all day, every day in the same building. I like being out on the road and solving problems for people and helping people in their businesses and helping them become more efficient and more successful.
And I would imagine, based on your background in engineering expertise and all the math that you just threw in there as well, when you are on the road doing the sales, you even become more capable because you're going to apply those attributes to that part of your work now, right?
Engineering teaches you to think analytically, and that does help in the industry, absolutely, because you look at things from every angle as opposed to just one angle.
Well, all the engineers out there and machinists and manufacturers, including myself, always thought of sales being the dark side, right? I got Darth Vader in front of you right now. We think of, the dark side, sales. But at the end of the day, it's not as bad as it's demonized, maybe. And also, I agree with you, and also the original statement I was leading up to, which is I feel like the best folks out there for sales and marketing are the ones that understand how these things work from whatever aspect it might be, whether it's the chemists on the coolant side of things, whether it's the people who are designing the geometries on the cutting tool side of things, whether it's the people who can take a machine apart and put it back together. All of these aspects, if you walk into a place and go, I'm going to help you today, but I'm going to help you from an area and not just say, we can do everything for you because I know we can, but truly understand the process. I believe that helps. And I think you've probably seen that as well.
I can't disagree. I mean, I have manufacturers reps all over the country, and our best ones that represent even our product line are the guys that typically come out of the shops, that have done setups, program, run machines, run Swiss machines, know the tooling, know everything that there is to know, and then they get into the sales aspect of it. And there's not really even a ramp-up curve on learning the products. They already know what they're doing. It's just a matter of getting people to listen to them and try their tools.
So now that we've been extra vague about saying products and they and all that stuff, and what are you making? What are you having all these distributors supply?
For us?
Yes, for you guys.
Well, the distributors get us the opportunities to get into the shops, and we make storage and organization equipment for machine tool accessories, tooling, that kind of thing, cutting tools, anything for lathes, mills, anything for any machines. If they give me the opportunity to build something for them, because I do a lot of the engineering and the new product design at Huot as well. So if somebody's got something in a shop that needs to be stored better and organized better, throw the application at me and I'll come up with something.
So does that make you an expert in Six Sigma, lean manufacturing, 5S, which I hear we're now calling 6S? I think there's another S to it now, but in all of that storage side of things, is that your world now also?
Yes. In fact, on the inside cover of our catalog, I have the Huot pronunciation, and then right underneath that, I have a cheat sheet on 5S initiatives. We have the 6th S, which is safety, 7th S, which is security.
Oh, we're getting into 7 now. Okay.
Yeah, when the concept first came up, they came up with like 10 or 12 of them, believe it or not, and they settled on the 5. So I've been promoting the 8th S as sanitized, because you might have heard about this thing called COVID, came out a couple of years ago.
No, what's that all about?
Yeah, so you have to do some research on it. Go ahead, Google it.
Let's see if I can find something.
So we came up with some products that are sanitized related, and so in our catalog we talk about the 5S, 6th and 7th as safety and security, because we cover those S's too as well, and now sanitize as well.
Would you mind, because I know there's an audience out there right now that is learning about 5S in general, and we've now gone into 6, 7, and 8. Would you mind kind of going over the 5S program and what those benefits that are brought to a shop through utilizing it?
No, I know a lot of people aren't going to want to hear this, because some people hate 5S because they're tied to it. The toughest S is sustain, which is making sure everybody actually follows the plan. But it basically it's common sense written out. So there's a place for everything and everything in its place. And that way, if everybody sustains the plan for S, and you really should get everybody involved in putting together what's going to go where in every cell, anybody can go into any machine cell and know exactly where everything is if everybody sustains the plan. And it works. We use it in our shop. I've used it at other companies, and you can use it at home. I mean, it's mostly common sense and a place for everything and everything in its place, kept clean, kept orderly, and now organized too as well.
When I first started manufacturing, we started implementing 5S into our shop. I think at that time we were actually calling it lean manufacturing. But we had a young man who had recently come out of the Navy, and he showed up to a machine shop every single day about as pretty as a machinist could show up. I mean, clothes ironed, perfectly pressed and clean. A lot of us dirtier guys kind of made fun of him, but he was our boss, and so we tried not to too much. Anyway, the point of this is that he was implementing the system, and when I first started seeing it implemented, I was kind of, I wouldn't say against it, but I was like, why do we need to be so daggone thorough? I know where my stuff is right here. It looks like chaos, but it's organized chaos. Trust me, I know how this works, right? But then as I started to implement the other pieces of the system as well, which went from lean manufacturing to Six Sigma to the 5S, between the different shops that I moved into, I obviously started to see, when I become the management side of things, the importance of being able to know where stuff is, even as someone who is outside of that immediate department. Okay, I know when I pull open this drawer, because it's labeled, I'm going to find my calipers and my wrenches and whatever I need in this drawer, right? Then when I got into the consulting side of things and in the media side of things, I got into talking to owners of companies and how much money is saved based on time and how much time is lost based on looking for things. Do you have any stories like that?
I actually have one of my representatives who worked in a huge shop. It was a medical company that was enormous, and he kept trying to get the ownership to buy into better organization, and he always got pushback. So what he would do is, every time that he had to leave his machine, he would set his cell phone on a timer, and then he'd walk away and go search for the tool or do whatever he had to do. And then he came back, shut the timer off, and he tabulated how much time he spent. And at the end of a month, he went back to them and said, look, this is what you're paying me per hour. This is what I spent wasting time looking for tools. And they turned around pretty quickly and said, okay, you're going to drive this now, and we're going to get better organized. And it worked. I get people ask me all the time, like, why should I become better organized. I'm like, well, because your time is money, especially in manufacturing. And if you're not wasting time looking for tools and wasting time doing things that aren't productive, it's going to be more money in your pocket. The other thing too is a lot of shops, it's a presentation of your shop, especially if you're doing government work. Sometimes government will send people into your shop to inspect it. And if your shop looks like a disaster, that's not going to fare well for you. If it looks nice, neat, and organized, then it's going to help your cause with that government contract immensely.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and tack on something to that exact same point, but away from government is new hires. Almost every single show we've done on the VIP edition of the Gunn Show, somebody has brought up labor shortage and needing people, and whether it's the education side of things or trying to recruit the limited amount of people that are currently coming in, I've had great discussions with people. Well, what drives them? What inspires them to come into your shop? Well, they take a tour and it's clean. Heck yeah, they're going to lean over that one versus the dirty one across the street. You know, if you have the newest, latest, and greatest technology and the automation that goes into it, fantastic. That's attractive as well. But I would make the discussion, because we do bring this up a lot on our show, is the dull, dirty, and dangerous. And because I was going to ask you a question, what's a common myth about manufacturing that you would like to debunk? So I'm going to go ahead and take it on first, and then we'll slide over to you as well. And I think that common myth is that a lot of people outside the industry still remember their grandparents' stories of everything being dark and probably manual machines and maybe having some cuts on the hands and coming out smelling like oil and coolant and, you know, all of the older style photos that you see online when you Google manufacturing, right? And that is just, while it still exists, and I was just in an incredible foundry, and I actually watched the metal being melted. I was beating my chest. I felt like a caveman to me. I was like, yes, this is where it all comes from. For the most part, especially in like medical and aerospace and this type of stuff, another cliche statement, but I'm going to do it anyway, you can eat off the floors. I mean, it really is clean. And so that's what I'd like to debunk. Do you have one for manufacturing as well?
Tony, no question about it. People still have this thought process of what manufacturing plants look like, and you're exactly right. Dirty, dust and oil dripping from the ceiling, and people coming out of there all dirty at the end of the day, smelling like coolant and whatnot. And that's really not the case. I mean, I dress nicely when I go on the road to visit shops. Dress shoes, slacks, and I don't worry for a second about ruining my clothes. In fact, a lot of the shops we go into today are spotless clean. And one of my favorite lines is to tell the general manager, like, man, look at this place. I've been in dirtier emergency rooms. It's, a lot of them are that
funny,
clean.
not funny, actually, but and also true. Hashtag very true.
They all get a kick out of that line, and it's a compliment. And but I'm serious. I mean, you go into a shop today, and I find that most of them are actually really clean. And every once in a while, you get into a dirty shop, but it's just not practical anymore. Nobody wants to work in that kind of environment. It's not healthy. There's OSHA regulations against that, and nobody wants to work in it. And I would imagine if you own a shop, you wouldn't want to work in it either, and you wouldn't want your employees to work in it. You shouldn't.
So we all know what assuming does. If you put it on a chalkboard, we can spell it out even, what assuming does. But I'm going to assume, based on what we've just described, that business might be going pretty well for you guys. There's a lot of shops who do want to clean up, that do want to implement these things, that do want to be able to know where all their tools are. Would I make a decent assumption there, or am I incorrect?
I did research for my next opportunity because I wanted to write a book. And I came across this statistic that 70% of small business owners want to fund their retirement through the sale of their business, when in fact only 20% of them actually had a saleable business. And it broke my heart anticipating the fact that baby boomers, there was a light at the end of the tunnel, and in fact it was a train. And so I really wanted to do something about that. So I wrote a book called Scaling the Exit. The purpose of the book was to articulate a strategy for small to medium-sized business owners to increase the value of their business to the extent that they could actually sell it and fund their retirement. And that was really the first iteration of what became EBITDA Growth Systems and our brand promise, which is to double the valuation of small, medium-sized businesses, specifically in terms of an exit, but double their valuation, or we give them their money back.
Our business is good. We're all U.S. made products, so people really appreciate that. And we're a value-based product, so we don't sell anything that we wouldn't buy ourselves. And we want to provide a good quality product at a reasonable price. because everybody's spending their money on cutting tools and machines and that kind of thing, and nobody wants to spend a lot of money on storage and organization. We get it. So we design everything with a price point that I think the market will handle and what I think is fair to pay for that product.
I have so many conversations, Mike, similar to what you just described. Well, we're investing in a machine, and let's be fair. Maybe the machine is the first thing we should think about, but there are so many components where you can lose or make money, where you can become efficient or less efficient based on what's decided after that machine is purchased. From the cutting tool side and the tool holding side to the balancing and measuring side to how the coolant can stick to a part, to maybe have secondary operations or need to clean it in another way for worse finishes, to what we've already talked about with you. If I was on your team, and you've probably already done this because you're far more brilliant than I am, if I was on your team, I'd make a little slider bar. How much time do you spend away from your machine looking for parts? And every time it slides to more time, it lessens the amount of money made or something, because people sometimes don't realize that although I'm investing in something up front, in 3 months, 6 months, a year, I am profiting so much more, and it's paid for itself 100-fold.
No doubt about it. I mean, it all begins with a machine tool, and a machine tool is a sizable investment, but a machine tool doesn't come with everything it needs to make your specific part or parts. So then comes the tooling, then comes, as you said, the coolants, the cutting tools, maybe a quick change system, lighting, leveling pads, mist collection, storage and organization, and it goes on and on and on. But once you get everything set up, and it's rolling, then if you get it running right, you're making parts, you're making money too. So, you constantly want to test tools as well, especially from a cutting tool standpoint, because you might think that you're doing it the best way possible, but the technology in this industry changes so fast that new cutting tools come out. Guys are designing new tools all the time, so you constantly got to test to make sure that you're doing it the best way that because you've tested it against other tools and other ways to do it. So testing is important, and keeping on top of the technology is too. Absolutely.
Are you still traveling around all the time, or do you have a lot of teammates out there that help and support that?
I'm out all the time, probably usually every other week, and I'm working with our representatives out in the field. And we have, you've probably seen the Huot demo van. So we work in the van, going to see end user customers, because even trade shows these days, not too many people have the time to go to them, and it's different to see our product, live and in person as opposed to on a computer screen or in a catalog. This way they get to see it, touch it, feel it, imagine it, picture it in their shop, and get a much more better appreciation for it based on actually seeing it in the van. So I spend a lot of time on the road going to see end user customers and trying to solve problems for them, and do some distributor training during the week at the time too as well. But my biggest joy is going to a shop and helping somebody's business become more successful and profitable through being better organized and efficient.
I can certainly respect the hustle of banging on doors and showing people firsthand. All of us came from that area, right? We're in this industry because we love tinkering. We love playing with things, that kind of thing, right? But another reason I wanted to ask that question is for two purposes. One is, do you ever miss the engineering side of things as you've slid into sales? And the reason I asked that question as another follow-up is because as we started this conversation off and you said, nope, I'm sticking to engineering. You're like, oh, never mind. I think which one's my cubicle? Where's my spot, right? There's a lot of engineers out there that could be really wonderful sales and marketing folks, but maybe they're stuck in that comfort zone of, I know what I'm going to do every day. Maybe I'm a little bit introverted, but there's so much opportunity to that growth and expansion. So kind of a twofold question, Mike. Do you miss what you used to do? And would you advise other people to explore the growth of what you've moved into?
That's a great question. And as simple as our product line is, people look at our product line as just cabinets and carts, but what actually goes into the product is very technical. So on the engineering side, I'm still kind of on the engineering side because I do all the custom work. So we have our off-the-shelf products, but a lot of times people say, I want this, but I want to put this in it. Well, or I bought this machine at an auction and it's from some country or some planet, and there's no way to store the tooling. So I'll figure out a way modifying our existing product to building a custom product to store and organize their products just to help them become more efficient. So I'm on the engineering side, and I love going to see end users because they tell me what they need. And if I hear somebody saying we need this enough times, I'll sit down and drop a concept of it and send it up to engineering and say, okay, how can we mass produce these? What price point can we make them at? And that's how new products are born at Huot Manufacturing. So I'm still involved in the engineering part of it, which is really cool because when you're an engineer, you're an engineer. You know, you want to be that way. But the sales part of it is also really cool too, because now I'm able to take our engineer products and present them to people and help them utilize them to be successful in their businesses.
What advice would you offer someone coming into the industry, beginning like you did, maybe not shaving off their head and missing a global musical contract, but stepping into the industry in the beginning? Obviously, you've grown quite a bit. You've done this a while. You've bounced around the country. And as a salesperson, you've explored shops around the country as well. What kind of advice would you offer?
Well, Tony brought up before, it'd be the demand for skilled labor in the industry is, I mean, I travel the country, I go to shops all over the place, and I have owners of shops begging me, like, who do you know? Who do you know? I'm like, I live in Florida. I don't live here. I don't know anybody local. But
I have that same problem, actually. I don't know how many friends I have here locally because I'm on the road about 300 days a year.
yeah. But if you're interested in getting into manufacturing, go to a local manufacturing facility and say, look, I'd like to get into this, and I don't know what I want to do, or if you do know what you want to do, explain that to them too. If you're willing to show up to work every day, most shops or most manufacturing firms will give you a job just because you're showing ambition to get into it. And then try different things, maybe on an intern basis or just starting out, and see what you like best. I mean, you may be a setup guy, you might like doing that. You may be a machinist, you might like doing that. You might be an engineer, you may be in scheduling, in production, operations. There's a lot of different aspects of manufacturing, as you know, and there's something for everybody if they're interested in doing it.
I was kind of to expand on your story as well, Mike, when we're talking about, labor shortages and what advice we would offer for people coming in. I had a owner of a company one time in a more remote location of the U.S. who was really struggling to find decent labor. And he would even pay for people to come into the shop from other places. He'd pay for a work commute or transfer. And he's like, look, man, if I could just find somebody that didn't show up drunk or stoned or, wouldn't call in every other day, I'd take them. It came to that point.
No, I've been there. We were kind of in a remote location one day, and I was talking to a shop owner, and he said, these kids, they go to these technical schools for a couple of months, and they walk in the door and they say, I need to make $25 an hour. And they said, well, did you graduate from the class? Well, no. And he says, usually what he does is he says, okay, well, let me get the drug test papers on. He reaches down, he turns around, they're gone. So that's one way to weed through that. But I talked to technical school instructors all over the country, because a lot of them call up and we make deals to be able to make the schools more organized and more efficient so that they're learning the right way in school. And a lot of the technical instructors tell me that beginning of the semester, they have 30 students, 2 weeks into it, now it's 19, a month into it, now it's 12, and 4 to 5 graduate. And I've heard quite a few people say that local shops will say, who are your best guys? So it's Tony, it's Jim, it's Bob. Don't even finish school. Come work for us. We'll pay you $60,000 a year to start, and we'll teach you everything you need to know without even having to graduate. Wow, That's an opportunity.
That is an opportunity. We've talked about ROI on this channel as well when it comes to trades versus university, but we haven't talked about what you brought up. This would be a first, is if a classroom starts with, we'll just pick an easy number of 30 students and it ends up with 10, why do you think that is?
Hi everybody, Amy Teal, CEO and co-founder of Shop Floor Coffee, proudly a women-owned business that's supporting the manufacturing community.
Mike Franz, CIO, co-founder of Shop Floor Coffee. Thanks everybody for tuning in to check us out. Amy, tell us a little bit about Shop Floor Coffee.
So we're here to give back to the manufacturing community through purchases of coffee. So every purchase you make, we donate a portion of those proceeds back to help workforce development initiatives.
We can't tell you how much it means to us to help support the great manufacturing community. We've been involved with it for like 20 years, and we know there's issues around finding good people, finding people that really want to be involved in the industry, and we want to start by giving back to that, giving back to the programs, getting kids involved with these awesome programs. There's robotics, there's computer software, there's so many cool things involved with the industry that people just aren't aware of. We want to help raise that awareness by giving back in a little way that we can.
And really we came up with the idea of Shop Floor Coffee because there are two complaints on a shop floor. It's the coffee and the toilet paper. We can't do anything about the toilet paper, but we can help you get better tasting coffee on your shop floor while helping the community. So shopfloorcoffee.com, come visit us and support the community.
It's not easy. I mean, you have to work, you have to use your brain, you have to be good at math. You have to learn how to use instruments, measuring tools. You have to be consistent, detailed, focused. And a lot of people just don't want to work that hard. That's my opinion. It may not just be this generation. I think that's probably been the case forever. But as you know, in our industry, the guys that are good at what they do are good at what they do because they're really focused, really in tune on what they're doing, and thorough and detailed, and that's important. When you're making something that's a millionth of an inch tolerance, you can't just hack your way through that. You got to be on top of it.
And to give clarification for the audience out there who don't quite understand what a millionth of an inch might be, I like to use the term of microns. And if you think of a micron and you think about a blade of hair, a micron is microscopic compared to a blade of hair. Yep. So we're talking about machining parts to the accuracy and precision, oftentimes across yards of material that require that type of accuracy for the things that we're making around you. And that could be automotive, it could be aerospace, it could be medical. There's definitely areas of manufacturing that require tighter tolerances than the other areas of manufacturing, and some are still loosey-goosey. But a micron can be changed by 3 or 4 micron just by 1 temperature of degree in a room, thermal expansion, all the details that go into that. So it is incredibly difficult or powerful to know that a company can go, yeah, we can do tenths, we can do millionths, we can play in that world, right?
Yeah, microns and millionths, exactly. And that's oftentimes a mil spec or a spec on a job, pretty commonly. So, I mean, those are the kinds of people that need to be on top of a job like that, and it's not just anybody that can do it. And some people just don't want to work that hard. They don't want to, or they just can't focus that much.
Yeah, and might I throw out that some of the engineering out there is a bit of overkill. You don't actually need all those tolerances, but for the ones that do need it, that's why we talk about a lot of the machines that you can invest in. That if there's the 80-20 rule to say, if 80% of the jobs out there can be bid on by just about anyone with just about any machines, do you want to elevate your game and remove yourself from that flood of bidding and go, well, I have these machines that allow me to do things no one else can do at a better cost price because I can do multiple operations on the same machine, whatever it might be. But we get into that world. Something else we love to do on this show, Mike, is name drop. We love to shout out to our friends, our companies, anyone who's been a mentor, anyone who's inspired you in your life. Is there anyone in the manufacturing industry that you'd like to give a shout out to today, as you may already realize that MTD CNC is the most popular news channel for manufacturing on the planet. And we've actually just been called, let me whisper this, the Joe Rogan of manufacturing podcasts. Don't tell anyone, but I hope that actually starts trending. I hope it does. But with that being said, I hope I've been long-winded enough to give you time to think about who you might want to shout out today.
Wow, Joe Rogan, he's here in Florida now too.
Oh, I hope I get to meet him.
Up in the Stewart area, from what I understand. So yeah, I run into him at a couple of air shows up there and stuff. Cool guy. As far as names in the industry or mentors in the industry, I might be amiss if I didn't mention Alan and Jim Kern from Royal Products. I mean, they gave me my real shot in the industry and got me into distribution and taught me a lot of the ropes of how this industry works and how manufacturing works and how to be successful at it. And I owe those guys a lot for getting me into the industry from the beginning.
I'm sure they'll appreciate you saying that, and it's probably been a pleasure for them to get to know you and help you as well. I find that most mentors are that way.
I still keep in touch with them. They're actually a good customer of ours and great people, and still keep in touch with them regularly.
So we're going to play a couple of games. We got the sound effects game where we have 3 sounds. I know my producer, sound engineer, Christian, loves that game. He always picks really strange ones so he can embarrass me on camera, which is always fun. We're also going to do the Would You Rather game. We'll go over that in just a minute. I'll give Mike a sample of what that might be. But before we get to those games, I'm going to we don't have to get too serious, but it is a fairly serious question because I'd like to get a little bit of your perspective. Also, I want to bring up this question about how do you think manufacturing impacts the global economy, because there is still a purpose and a reason why we do these podcasts, why we do these filmings, why we're truly, honestly, transparently, authentically trying to connect with the next generation of manufacturers in an invisible industry. So I like to ask, what kind of impact in manufacturing, impacts the global economy? Because most of us are watching our TVs. Most of us are talking on microphones. Most of us are playing on our phones. You might have been watching this podcast on YouTube right now from your laptop. We make all of that stuff. What if it didn't happen?
Yeah, it's a scary thought, and it's a great question, and I've really learned the answer to that firsthand a couple of years ago when we started expanding our distribution to become globally, started selling overseas more through our parent company's channels. And I talked to the people in Japan and Australia and in Europe, and they told me that they watch our economy very carefully because when our economy catches a cold, they get pneumonia. So a lot of their sales forecasts are based on what sales forecasts are here because the U.S. drives a lot of the global economy all over the world, and a lot of that is manufacturing too as well.
Yeah, I think that's a solid answer, and I appreciate that answer. I'm trying to find every angle I can to connect with the next generation of manufacturers, whether it be tours to shops or posting funny videos or being very serious about it or attracting through the engineering hands-on. We're trying. We're really trying, guys. We promise from every aspect, and not just myself, but there's a lot of great people out there, influencers and machining companies, and we're trying. We offshored a ton for a long time, and we're only just realizing how flippin' important it is, and there's a massive reshoring initiative going on. So I promise you we're trying. Mike's another one of those dedicated human beings, so we appreciate that. You ready for some games?
Well, yeah, to the point that you made before, literally, we touch so many things in people's lives that they don't understand. So when people ask me what I do, I try to explain it to them, and it goes over their heads. And I'm like, what we do touches every aspect of your life, by the car you drive, by the TV you watch, by the things you cook on. I mean, and nobody, I don't say they don't appreciate it, but they don't know that our industry exists, and they don't know how important it is to airplanes, automotive, agriculture, aerospace, defense, everything. It touches everything.
Walk into a hospital, look around, and if it's not humans and air, tell me what's not touched by manufacturing, and we're all talking about our health. You brought up COVID, this weird thing I hadn't really heard of before just a few minutes ago. But, I'm starting to get older. My knees are starting to hurt from my days of soccer. My hips are starting to hurt. I'm pretty sure I'm going to think manufacturing a lot when I got a bone plate stuck in me.
It's funny. You go into a medical facility and just look at the gurneys and everything, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's our customer. Yeah, I've been in their plant. Oh, yeah, I know those guys.
Uh-huh.
It's for real. And also on planes, too. I mean, you spend time in airports and you look around and say, yep, I've been in that plant. Yep, know those guys. Yep, been there.
More times in airports than hospitals currently, but thank goodness for that, right?
That's a good thing.
Now, we ready for some games?
Yeah, let's give it a shot.
All right, let's see how epically I fail at these three sounds. Christian tells me he has some good ones for me today. Let's see if they're new. Let's see if they repeat. I might win. That would be good. But it'd be new for Mike. Let's see what he picked today. I have a guess.
Sounds like a machine ramping up.
That's what it sounds like to me, too. The start of a machine spindle spinning until it gets to high speed.
Right.
Well, how close are we, Christian?
You're close. What kind of machine, though?
It sounded to me like
gas, electric, diesel.
It sounds like electric.
I would go with electric as well, just based on the high pitch that it gets to at the end. Is it electric?
Yep.
Yeah, all right. We got one. Well done, Mike. All right, number 2. Didn't we just create Space Force? I think this is aliens coming to visit us.
Kind of sounds like the first one.
3D printing? Yeah?
Ooh.
Hey, all right.
Good one.
Or aliens, one of the two. It's you. The audience can decide. Leave it in the comments. Aliens or 3D printing.
The Space Force, I thought, was a good guess.
Yeah, Space Force, probably the better guess between the two, really. What's our third one, Christian?
Sounds like a machine running and indexing.
Something's getting mashed.
And chips being thrown around.
Something is getting mashed or formed or bent. That used to be a saying. Do you remember that? Get bent. That sounds to me like some sort of hydraulic press is mashing or crushing or bending something.
That sounds like something making chips, throwing around an enclosure.
What do we got?
It's a hydraulic press.
Hey, all right. All right, that's 3 sounds, and we're out like baseball, only we only hit home runs here. Gosh, that's a terrible analogy, but I did play baseball once. I went to a Holiday Inn, so does that count? Anybody remember that commercial? I know, but I stayed at a Holiday Inn.
Yeah.
All right, Would You Rather. So Would You Rather is a fun game we like to play that kind of pitches opposites against each other. Neither scenario is super, but you got to tell us why you picked the one. Here's an example. It's not going to be the one you get, but it'll get your creative juices flowing. Would you rather lead a project with a high budget but high expectations, or a small budget with a more creative freedom? So we're not going to answer that one, but pitching opposites against each other. So I'm going to give you your first one, Mike. I'm going to read it slowly to try and give you time to think about. Would you rather have a job that requires intense physical labor but with a high salary, or a less demanding job with a lower salary?
Currently, when I was young, it'd be all about the intense physical
You say
labor. But now,
curly?
my physical labor days are way behind me. Cop out of that question, huh?
I think I'm with you, actually. Back to being younger and older, yeah.
If I went back in my younger days, I'd be all over the physical high salary thing for sure in a second.
Plus, we live in South Florida, right? So we're pretty laid back these days.
Yeah. and it's easier to stay in shape when you live in Florida, too, as well. So.
That is true. No state taxes here. We do like that. All right, next
doubt.
question. I think I probably know this answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Sort of pertains to your current position. Would you rather face a strict environmental regulations with higher operating costs, or have no regulations but potential environmental impact?
That's a good question. I mean, I am concerned about the environment, of course, but at the same time, this brings up a whole conversation of green manufacturing plants. I mean, there are certain states that want manufacturing out of their states, and they're not making any bones about it. Where I think if we invested money and focused on building more cleaner, greener manufacturing plants, it could be more acceptable to people with that thought process and provide jobs for people that live in their area.
Solid answer.
So I know that kind of was a tangent off the beaten path there, or not really related to the question, but it's something I'm kind of passionate about.
Sometimes a non-answer is an answer. It totally counts in my book. And for everyone watching out there, just to reiterate something that I didn't iterate originally, so I don't know if the re is even in there. These are not scripted. I did not send these to Mike ahead of time. This really is off the cuff and how we feel about something. And that's how we like to do bits and pieces of this show, is to make sure that you guys are receiving the information that's true and real. And we didn't just contact our bosses and say, am I allowed to say this? No, this is good stuff. All right, last question for you of would you rather. Would you rather implement automation that saves time but has a very steep learning curve, or stick with manual processes that are familiar but less efficient?
Automation all the way, baby. I mean, it's people step up and learn it if it's going to make it that important and make the company more successful and produce the parts better, faster, and cheaper. That's what manufacturing is all about. Automate, automate, automate.
Since we did hit that question, though, and before we close this thing out with gratitude and a nice sip of tequila, as you've chosen a nice Clase Azul today, beautiful and delicious tequila, would you find that we are currently in that limbo we just described, where some are remaining in the comfort zone, sticking to what they know, and some are implementing automation and becoming far more efficient? And although steep learning curve can be applied, there's a whole lot of software out there right now which is really simplifying automation and helping people learn within hours to days. We're currently sitting on that limbo, aren't we?
Well, you got to look at being competitive. I mean, if your competitors are using automation to do things better, faster, and cheaper, and you're still doing it the old way, how much more longer are you going to remain competitive? You're going to get smoked on contract bids because of the automation and the use of technology. You almost have to.
Yeah.
It's nice to stay in a comfort zone, but if you know anything about business, especially in technology and engineering, don't get too comfortable in your comfort zone, because it's going to be time to move on to something else pretty quickly.
Yeah, and how's that Kanye West song go? Something like harder, better, faster, stronger. That don't kill me. Sorry, every time someone's like better, faster, I'm like, Kanye, you're in my head again. How'd you get there? All right, Mike, thank you so much for your time today. It's really been a pleasure getting to know you better. The musical background I had no idea about, so that was fun. And I wonder what your life would have been like had that contract included you.
Yeah, me too, but I don't think about it too often. And, God had a plan for me, so I'll stick with his plan and go willingly and humbly and enjoy my life best I can.
Yeah, we needed you in manufacturing anyway, you know what I mean? So if my good-looking and young, and yes, to the ladies out there, I'm trying to give a vivid description of my friend Benjamin, who's bringing us the tequila right now. He dresses to the T every day. It's amazing. Super nice guy as well for the ladies who are listening right now. Mike, thank you so much for joining me. I really do mean that. These shows are about you guys. It might have my name here, it might have MTD, which helps with the reach, but this is about you. This is about manufacturing. This is about helping people know what it's all about. So I say courage, although sometimes it just becomes a whole lot of fun to do this, but I'm going to say thank you for your courage to be here. Thank you for doing this for the first time. Thank you for your advocacy to manufacturing, and thank you for helping bring awareness to the next generation.
Tony, thank you for having me here. It's been a real honor, and I really do appreciate what you do for the industry too. And thank you for what you do. We need more guys like you to spread the message that manufacturing is not this dark, evil, dirty place to work and make a living. It's actually really fun, really challenging, and you can become part of a team with other people that share a common goal to get your parts out the door and as efficiently, as quickly as possible, and make your end user customers happy. That's what it's all about.
That's right.
It's actually a pretty cool thing what you do. So thank you.
No, thank you. It's absolutely my pleasure. Do you have a toast that you would like to share today, my friend? Anyone you'd like to dedicate this to, or if you have an Irish proverb, or you come from New York, you might have some Italian stuff that you might know. Any toast you like to lean on?
I want to toast to all the guys that get up every day and make this country stronger, and the patriotism and the pride that they build American products with. And here's to you guys.
It's a great thing to cheers to. Thank you all for watching. We appreciate your time and everything you're doing as well. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, we appreciate it. Share it with your friends. Let people know we're bringing manufacturing back. This is the beat of the manufacturing heart. And again, we do appreciate your time. Mike, thanks again, buddy.
Thank you.